Rachel Notley says that she'll release a part of the climate change policy 1 week before the Paris climate talks, which means that this meeting will shape the future of Alberta's environmental policies. The conference has already been deemed a failure before it even starts, with some sources stating that the intended nationally determined contributions submitted by 155 nations show that temperatures can only be decreased by 3%. And that's only if you really believe in anthropogenic or human-induced global warming.
Yes, sir. How do you do and how are you? Hey, yeah, I'm coming to you and I am the Wolf Man. What we say around here is, we believe in the wolf.
And in my opinion, humans just don't trump Mother Nature. Never have and never will. Temperatures have been changing for 4.6 billion years, and global temperatures are at some of the lowest in Earth history. The same can be said for greenhouse gases. Carbon dioxide isn't pollution, it makes plants grow. But Notley has been pushing for a carbon tax and doesn't favor the cap and trade plan, which would take revenue out of the province, also known as lining government pockets. At a time when Alberta is bleeding jobs and our main industry is in a major downturn with no hope of picking up soon, Rachel Notley wants to introduce carbon taxes to take more money out of the pockets of Albertans. And let's not forget the plan to phase out coal and wean us off of oil and gas to introduce higher energy bills for all of us. We need to look no further than Ontario to see how much our costs will rise. And don't forget that it takes oil and gas to back up solar and wind energies.
Which is why, in the entire world, there is not one real or proposed independent, freestanding solar or wind power plant. All of them require backup. And guess what the go-to backup is? Fossil fuel.
And what is this terrible record that they continue to talk about? The NDP seem to forget that Canada has some of the strictest regulations when it comes to the oil and gas industry. A study completed by Worley Parsons and the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers that compares Alberta's standards to that of 9 other countries states just as much. Alberta came second only to Australia when it comes to environmental laws and comprehensiveness, and first in public access to information. And there's no comparison to Alberta when it comes to compliance, which covers protection laws, penalties, and regulations when it comes to environmental rules. As for greenhouse gas emissions, Alberta championed legislation, with large emitters paying $20 per ton next year, with that money being invested in new green technology. $210 million has already been invested in such projects. Contrary to statements previously made by the NDP, Alberta is not an environmental laggard. In fact, the situation here is to the contrary. Nobody does it better than Alberta. It seems that all this new government talks about is climate change, with no regard for anything else, all while these NDP climate warriors drive around in SUVs and Buick Enclaves. They have a 54-car fleet amongst them. Sure, Jim Prentice ordered the new vehicles, but it just goes to show that the NDP would suffer without the comforts that the oil and gas industry provides. They're the worst kind of hypocrites. I think the NDP will stop at nothing to implement their completely off-base and out-of-touch climate policies, and it's going to get worse after the Paris Climate Change Conference. I have no doubts that they're going to make Albertans suffer at their own expense, and it will be through our pocketbooks. For TheRebel.Media, I'm Holly Nicholas.